Hello, this is going to be a stitch along video, something a bit different, which I seem to be saying a lot in my videos recently, but I'm playing, I'm experimenting and playing. So in this video, I'm going to be chatting about whether or not you can, excuse me, sell fan art on Etsy. And I'm going to be doing so while I stitch up some fan art. This is for me, incidentally. Big Stranger Things fan here, but I digress already. I did initially try filming this yesterday, but seeing as this is my first stitch along video, mistakes were made. So although the project is almost finished, I'm going to try again. Okay, so I guess to quickly introduce you to the project, it's just a line illustration of one of the characters, Eddie Munson, who he says, "The Shire is burning, so Mordor it is." In my haste to hoop this up, I actually forgot the "so," which annoys me a little bit, but we're just going to stick with it. Also, for the eagle-eyed of you, you may notice that his shirt, it's supposed to say Hellfire. I do realise that there is an I in fire, but in the picture that I was referencing for this illustration, he had a crease, which meant the I was missing. So just so that you know, I can spell. So the plan for today, since I've done the outline, I'm going to obviously do the text, and I might fill in the black parts, which is the collar, the arm there, and the text. We shall see how we go. Oh no, messed up already. This is going well, isn't it? Well, providing you can make a piece of fan art without messing it up, can you sell that on Etsy? No. I hesitate because there are ways that you could, but you're going to see it's quite complicated. You basically need the permission of the copyright holder, and that is a long and often very expensive process to get. So to do so legally, the answer is often just no, you can't. We all use the example of Disney because they are renowned for protecting their brand and their trademark characters fiercely. They won't even let anything slide, and you'll see them come onto Etsy and other places, and they will do like blanket takedowns. Etsy often get a lot of criticism from people who don't understand how it works. They might have an item taken down for copyright infringement, and they'll look around the site and they'll say, well, there's loads of other people doing it and they're still up, so what's happening? Well, it's not Etsy's legal responsibility to do the rounds and take everything down. What they do is they wait until they get contacted by the copyright owner, who reports these items, and then Etsy has a legal requirement to then take these reported items down. So if you have had an item taken down, it's because the copyright holder has found it and requested that Etsy take it down, which is their right. And so there's no complaining to be done, I'm afraid. Now, to be fair, a lot of people who are new to, and this is the problem, when you see so many people doing this, to someone who's new to the whole making and selling online thing, I think in the early days, ignorance is not an excuse, but it's understandable. Some people can genuinely think that it's okay to, for example, make a dress using fabric that they've bought that was listed as licensed Disney fabric, for example, only to find that their item is then later taken down once Disney do a sweep. And they might be thinking, well, I bought licensed fabric, so why is that? The problem, though, is that if you buy fabric that is licensed by Disney, for example, all that means is that the makers of the fabric has been given a license from Disney to use their characters. It does not automatically transfer to someone using that fabric and then selling their own items from that fabric, if that makes sense. You can buy the fabric and you can make something for personal use, but the waters instantly muddy up. Get off. Once money is involved, when there's a transaction, when you're selling things and you are gaining financially from someone else's copyright, that is when it all gets a bit grr. So essentially, yeah, you need the copyright holder's permission to use their work. And how many of us are actually going to get that? So if anybody asks me, can I sell fan art on Etsy? My kind of stock response is, I am not a legal professional, so you need to get legal advice from a legal professional. And incidentally, I am not a legal professional. You need to get legal advice from a legal professional. But my personal take on it is that I will not gamble my shop for one item. There's just no point. There's just no point. There is an argument that even creating fan art and sharing it, as in on social media, or even like this here, making this video, could open someone up to a cease and desist letter or worse. I'm willing to gamble on that. I think this, because there is an argument of fair use, and I do think I'll be okay. Put it this way, I'm willing to take the chance for this video. But you can see how murky it gets. There's an awful lot of ifs, buts, and maybes, and more often than not, the way that it is decided is in a court of law. I think sometimes people want to be able to make the bloody jets again. I think sometimes people want to make Why every time I'm trying to sit down and make a video, the jets are like, let's go flying? I've said it previously in videos, but I live very, very rurally, and we get fighter jets flying over quite regularly. Practicing, and I've messed up a stitch. When the weather is good, and the weather is lovely at the moment, so they are out playing. What was I trying to say? I've completely forgotten now. Oh yeah. Oh, that didn't sound good. I think people sometimes get so desperate to see an idea through with their fan art and sell it that they will interpret the law to suit themselves. And this is the problem when things are open to interpretation. Often it can end up in court, and what you have to ask yourself is, if a copyright holder came after you, do you have the money to fight that, to hire a solicitor and to fight it in court? Because I know I don't. And I also don't want to. Can you imagine the stress involved? And what you've got to ask yourself is this item that you want to make and sell, is it worth the risk? I can hear another jet. I don't think the mic's going to pick it up quite yet. No, that one was a bit further away. Okay. That being said, if you sell print on demand, I do think there are some POD sites like Redbubble that partner up with companies, and those companies will give... Oh, that was low. Oh, he's banking. He's coming back. Is he coming back? No way. Okay, that one was pretty cool. The jet just flew right over the house, quite low, but he kind of banked and did a kind of S shape. I thought he was coming back. Right, where am I? This is really hard to do with jets flying over. I don't usually get to see them out of my office window, but I'm usually distracted by lambs, not planes. Where was I? Again, where was I? Redbubble. Blimmin' heck. Yeah, they have a partnership program where they work alongside the copyright holders, which provide permission, essentially, to use their images for your work. Obviously, there will be terms and conditions, and I am not a print-on-demand seller, and I don't use Redbubble, so my knowledge of that is limited at best. But that is an example of where a copyright holder will give permission, and you can make fan art legally. And if that is your niche and you're interested in that and haven't yet checked it out, then by all means do so. But otherwise, I would steer clear and just err on the side of caution. In fact, that's kind of how I run my business. If there's an element of I'm not sure, I steer clear. Basically, you've just got to ask yourself, do I still want to be in business a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if that's the case, then you need to be making all of your decisions with that in mind. So a lot of the things that I do, I'm always thinking about the future of my business and how a decision might affect that. So you've got to future-proof your business, essentially. I think I should have used 3 strands for the letters instead of 2. That is another bloody jet. I'm getting bored now. One thing that I've learned from trying to talk and stitch at the same time is that I move my hoop around quite a lot. So I tend to do this. Obviously there's angling it so that I can see it better like that, which means you can't see it. So I'm having to try and make sure I do that. And the other thing that I do is I just move it around as I move around the hoop, which is problematic when you're trying to keep it still for a camera. So I need to, if I'm going to do more of these, I'm going to have to invest in a hoop stand or something. And also, if you're selling on Etsy, then you really want to be careful with copyright infringement, because I'm not 100% certain what Etsy's official policies are at the moment. There was a time when there was a 3 strikes and you're out policy, and Etsy gave you some grace. So they would take down your items if they breached any of the terms and conditions, and they would give you, they would give you a couple of chances, and they were very good about sending you an email and letting you know what it was about your item that got it taken down. And then it seemed there was a period where people's items were just being taken down and shops were being closed, and there was no communication whatsoever. And it was the shops getting closed that was an issue. That I don't know how true it was, but usually when you see videos, especially here on YouTube, with things like Etsy shut my shop for no reason, there's usually been a reason. Not always, to be fair. There have been issues where Etsy, because so many of what Etsy does is automated. Obviously, there were shops that were getting pulled into the net by accident, but these were the shops that would get quickly reopened once it got under the eyeballs of a human, and they would be like, oh, okay, no, it's all right, it's cool. But even then, there was something about the shop that would trigger their automated systems to go, this doesn't look right, even if it was okay. And when people's shops were getting closed down, a lot of people were saying that they weren't receiving any emails from Etsy. And obviously it's really difficult to tell how true that is, because I do think there may have been some truth in that in some cases. And I do think that some people were getting emails from Etsy saying, stop doing this, you're breaching copyright or whatever. And they were ignoring it. And then eventually Etsy just shut their shop. Huh. Easy for you to say. It shut their shop and just ceased all communication. And there were some, I mean, some of the videos on here, people have been very, very open about how they took Etsy's terms and conditions and set fire to them pretty much. And then they were like, oh, they shut my shop down. It's like, yeah, good. And now this is obviously that's not the case for everyone. A lot of people, as I say, have their shops closed temporarily, especially now. If anything about the shop gets, just raises a flag, Etsy will just take no, I was going to say prisoners, that's not right. Etsy will just take no chances and they will shut the shop and they will wait for the shop owner to contact them and say, oi, what are you doing? And then they'll be like, we're just being careful and your shop is fine, and they'll open it. And if that's the case and your shop is fine, they will reopen it, no problem. But they're just trying to make the site a less spammy place, because let's be honest, in the times of Rona, when everybody, including Etsy staff, were working from home, it was a case of when the cat's away, the mice will play, and Etsy got flooded with scammers. So yeah, now we're all back. Now that the cats are back, they're just trying to tidy up the platform a bit. And in this case, I'm all for it. I am all for it. See, my hoop, I keep pulling the hoop away from where it's supposed to be. Now, the whole point of this video, if anybody's watching this and you're thinking this video is so boring, this video is supposed to be something that you can have running in the background while you're working. It's not supposed to be something that's wildly entertaining. It's not that it's not supposed to be entertaining, it's just that it's meant to serve a different purpose. When I'm doing this, when I'm stitching, I tend to search for longer form content here on YouTube, and I've often spoken about one of my favourite channels is Critical Role, and I just watch. I'm currently watching campaign 3, and each of their episodes is anywhere between 3 and 4 hours long. I can literally watch one of their episodes or listen to one of their episodes in one day if I am just flat out stitching. And I wanted to make something like that in terms of length. I don't know if it will work on this channel. Most people here are here for Etsy content. And I love making Etsy content because, it's like a home from home almost. My shop is on Etsy, so I'm always going to be talking about it. But sometimes, truth hat on, sometimes I'm bored of talking about Etsy. It's just, there's only so much you can say sometimes. There are times when all of the things are changing and they're bringing in all of the changes. Like now's quite busy. They're bringing in a lot of stuff. And then there are other times where it's just blissfully quiet. I mean, not in terms of sales. I mean, in terms of them tweaking and tinkering. And I think the reason they're so busy at the moment is that they're trying to get it all done and out of the way during this quiet summer period in time for Christmas. I think that's what they're doing. First stabbing of the day. I can usually tell when I need to change up my needle by how much my finger hurts after I've accidentally stabbed myself. My needle is still pretty sharp. Not blood-inducing sharp. You've got to be careful when you get a brand new needle because you don't want to bleed all over your work. But it happens. I can't use thimbles and finger protectors. They just get in the way and they annoy me. But when you get a brand new sharp needle and you've got into the flow, you can stab yourself pretty damn hard. This one is so-so. If you're not finding this video boring though, and this was the sort of thing that you've been waiting for me to make, because I know that some of you have been really kind and you've been like, come on Kim, I'm waiting for this. If there's anything you'd like to see me do different in a future one, let me know. In fact, I'm inviting everyone who's still watching to give me some feedback in the comments, please. Obviously keep it nice, respectful. I shouldn't need to say that, should I? But apparently, if some of the comments that I've received over the last few weeks are anything to go by, yeah. Why is it as well, when somebody wants to leave a really, really horrible comment, they don't do so publicly? A lot of people follow me over onto Instagram, or sometimes even in my Etsy shop, to give me the worst of the feedback. And it's like, oh, it's interesting to me how you're not happy to say this publicly. And it does make me wonder, it's like, if you're not willing to put your name to it, should you be saying it? Or maybe should you be saying it this way? I mean, I should point out, I am more than happy to receive, sorry, that was a bit of fluff. I'm more than happy to receive feedback and criticism, and nobody has to agree with everything that I say. God, could you imagine how boring the world would be if we all agreed on the same thing? But there's a way. Do you know what I mean? There is a way of delivering it so that you're not being a so you're not being a insert word here. Try not to get this video demonetized. But I do hope that this video doesn't completely tank. It can tank a little bit, but not completely, because I've really wanted to make something like this. And if it doesn't do well on this channel, but there are people who are interested in it, then I might even create another YouTube channel. I might. One is hard enough. YouTube is a funny thing. I have a lot of love for this platform, but the algorithms work in such a different way to anything else that I've ever been on. And it's a whole learning curve. So as a creator, it's essential that you keep experimenting and trying new things, which the better you do, the better your channel is, and the more it grows. Weirdly, that's the last thing that you want to do, because you're so afraid of messing it up. People can follow you for one thing, and if you decide to zag instead of zig, it can throw them off, and they can be like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? So yes, but I do want this to keep this channel creative. So I do these sort of like check-ins with myself every so often, just to make sure that I'm on track with the goals that I set myself, and that, you know, the business is still feeling the way I want it to, because sounds a bit woo. I know that we're often supposed to think about how we want our business to look like now, a year from now, etc., etc. I always focus on how I want it to feel, because whenever I try and imagine how I want my business to look, my head instantly fills with images of what it should look like. And what a business should look like is often the complete opposite to how I actually want to run my business. So if I focus on the feelings, for example, I want my business currently, put my hoop back a little bit. I want my business to feel unrushed. And I want to feel secure financially. And I still now feel that time and the flexibility of time is more important to me than earning a buttload of money. That was my driving force to starting this business when my daughter was a year old, because without going into too much detail, we didn't think at one point that we would be able to have a family. And we actually gave up on the whole thing, which ironically is when my daughter showed up. Life loves to life, doesn't it? So yeah, everything with my daughter has been bittersweet, because all of her firsts are kind of the last as well. I'm not I knew she was going to be our one and only, and so while I'm not judging anybody else's decisions, because everybody's family and everybody's situation is different and everybody's wants are different, I knew that I wanted to spend as much time with her while she was a child as possible, because I'm only doing this once. But that means that I need a business that can be flexible as heck. And the day job that I had when she was born, again, without going into too much detail, let's just say it didn't offer that. And we'll leave it at that. So I created a business for myself that did. And I mean, maybe I could do a whole other video on how good being self-employed has been for me. And it just goes so much further than just making your own money and giving you a bit of freedom with your time. It's I say a bit of freedom. I've never worked harder in my life at anything except perhaps parenting, which is a whole job, isn't it? But yeah, time and the flexibility of time was my driving force when I started this business. And even though it's been, oh my God, almost a decade later, wow, it's still the case. And that is not something I take for granted at all. I am very, very lucky to have this. I've worked very, very hard for it, and it did not come overnight. It did not happen overnight. But it was, yeah. But it has, it's been by far one of the best decisions I have ever made. And I just stabbed myself again. But one day, I won't need that flexibility of time quite so badly as I currently do. And maybe then that will affect the goals that I set for myself, which kind of brings me back to what I was saying originally, which was that I was sat down just checking in, making sure that my business still felt the way I wanted it to. And I realized, and not for the first time, that I had again gone off track with this here channel, because it can be so easy to fall into the trap of just making content that you think your audience wants to see, which you are supposed to do. That incidentally, that's not bad advice. But YouTube is hard. It's hard-assed work, and to the point that it actually really annoys me now whenever I come across someone who says, even in jest, something about, you know, it being an easy thing to do. Sorry, I've just accidentally put red. I don't want that. Go away. Please don't, please don't, please don't. Otherwise I'm just going to have to bin you. I am not giving up. Ta-da. Right. That's not even, oh, for goodness sake. But yeah, I've said in the past, when I started leaning into this channel, initially it was just like a hobby, I guess. And it was a hobby that I returned to when we were in lockdown, because I needed something that was just mine. So I turned to YouTube, and because everybody was online, just just checking that I'm in shot. Because everybody was online, people were actually watching my videos, which was not something I was used to be brutally honest. And so I thought, oh, people are actually watching me. Hi. And so I just carried on talking, and then I started talking about like business stuff, because I was starting to miss the business. I couldn't actually run my business, but I could talk about it. And it kind of took off. And that was when when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, this could be something. And I got monetized relatively quickly. It was only 3 months after I started leaning into YouTube properly. To be fair, I do think a lot of that was down to the time that we were in, and because everybody was stuck at home watching so much YouTube. I do think it would have taken me longer if I tried to do that now. And in fact, when I decided to try and get monetized, I sat down and I worked out how much time it would take me based on my level of growth at that particular time. And I worked out that I should, if all carried on going in the same direction, that it should take me, it would have taken me a year, or if I was really going strong, 11 months. And I thought that was fast, but I basically told myself it was like an unpaid internship. I would do YouTube properly without making any money from it. So in the hope that I could make some money from it. And I had no idea how much I would be able to make. And then obviously, as I say, it kind of took off. And within 3 months, I was monetized, which blew my mind. And I haven't stopped since. But in the early days, it was easier to experiment. And it was easier to feel creative, because sometimes I was doing talking. Actually, I think most of the time I was doing talking head videos. And there's nothing wrong with talking head videos, but they can get a bit boring, don't you think? And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with talking head videos, but I don't want to just make talking head videos. And it's always been my intention to branch out. But I feel like every time I try to, it doesn't work. And I think this is the other side to YouTube that I'm discovering now. So this video here is a little bit of a it's a bit of a gamble. I'm not going to lie. I know it's not going to be one of my best performers. That's okay. I don't panic actually when I get a video that's not performing well, because I mean, it sounds trite to say, you know, you learn something from every video, but you really do. And I've noticed that if I actually pay attention and look for that lesson in each one, then I can make the next one even better. And that's how I keep getting better. But I also get better by experimenting, and I haven't been doing that at all. And every time I sort of check in with myself and remind myself that I need to be doing this more, I forget again. So this is the part of YouTube that I'm struggling with. I'm struggling to find a balance between running it as a business and therefore creating content that I know people want to see, but also balancing that with content that I want to make. Because while I love making the talking head videos where I'm talking about Etsy and stuff, it's not the only thing that I want to do. I'm also a seller myself, and YouTube is taking up so much time that I feel like I'm getting less and less time to spend on my own shop, which seems depressingly ironic, doesn't it? I mean, I'm being impatient. I am getting there. I mean, this month, we're at the time of filming, it's June, and I have been pivoting so hard. I did a video a while back about how I wasn't even stitching and I managed to stab myself. Right, what was I saying? That one hurt. Yeah, I did a video about how I had a plan and I was going to pivot the shop again, because at the start of the year I was pivoting so that I could bring in some items that I would hope would be more evergreen. So in between, because I do collection launches, and that's great for sales. They do really well. But then in between collections, my shop can be pretty quiet and pretty empty, like now. And what I wanted to do was to introduce some sort of baseline products that I could be known for, and that would keep the lots of ums and buts, keep the sales trickling in between product launches. So the products that I was bringing out to do that early on this year, they were working until they weren't, because of everything. I'm sick to death of talking about it, but you know what I'm talking about. It basically everything has forced me to pivot again. A mere 3 months. Ow! See, this is why stitching and talking is hard. So it really did set me back a good few months, and it's been challenging. I'm going to actually try and bring you down a little bit, because I've just noticed that I'm becoming like a little stitchy goblin. And yeah, there we go. I have to keep checking to make sure that I'm not pulling my hoop out of shot, because that's what I did yesterday. I filmed a whole bunch, but unfortunately my hoop moved. This is why I think I need to stand if I'm going to do this, because I don't have enough concentration to be keeping the hoop in one spot at the right angle and focus on what I'm talking about. It's a whole lot of things to remember. So I think and I'm gonna be honest, I have never stabbed myself more with this flipping needle than now filming. So yes, I'm gonna blame the filming setup. But I think if I could get myself a hoop stand, then that's one thing that I don't have to worry about. It will keep it nice and still. It will be a challenge to get used to stitching that way, because as you can see, I'm used to moving my hoop around as I need to. But it might be the answer. The trouble is, I don't want to invest in a hoop stand that I wouldn't usually use otherwise, unless people are actually going to watch these kinds of videos. And this is why I'm making this very bootstrappy video to test the waters. Because there's a whole load of things that will go into it. It depends on how it's going to affect the other videos. Is it going to pull them down? Is it going to alienate some of the people who watch this channel? Who knows? Maybe the answer is to have a separate channel for longer form content like this. I don't think I could be... There's only one way to find out, and that is to test. And this is basically my whole rambly point. I want to not be afraid to play with this YouTube channel, and remember why I started it in the first place. And that was it wasn't just to share stuff that I had learnt over the years about running an Etsy shop. It was also just to share the journey of running an Etsy shop too, the warts and all stuff, because I am an Etsy seller. And because Etsy is changing so much and so quickly, we are all learning as we go. I don't think there is anyone who can call themselves an expert on all things Etsy anymore, because it's evolving so fast. So we are all learning as we go along. and we're learning from each other. So I feel like with this channel, I come at it from two angles sometimes. One is from maybe like an education point of view, where I think, okay, I know enough about said topic to have a take on it, and I'm going to share my take. And then the other angle is from a seller who's just sharing her process. And I have recently pivoted into that with my stats videos. I remember when I decided to make that stats video, it was actually a few months ago. I thought, oh, I really want to start doing this. I don't know why I didn't straight away. I think it just never seemed like the right idea. And then I decided, like, at the end of the 1 month, I have, incidentally, apart from when I first started the shop, I have never had a month where I've not sold anything. And this May was the first month since my shop's been reopened that I've not made anything at all. And that was the month that I decided to share my stats. I love how my brain works sometimes. This is really embarrassing. No one in their right mind would share this with people. Let's do it. But yeah, it did okay. So I think I'm going to continue with them, which means if you're new here, the beginning of each month, I basically share my Etsy stats with everyone. I am what I would consider to be a small business owner on Etsy. There's no six-figure businesses in my house. And I think that's good, because there is a gap in that. We see a lot of people sharing the big numbers, and that is absolutely fantastic, because as someone who's not nearly close to hitting those big numbers, I need to know it's possible. Although I don't watch them, it's good to know that it's there and that it's possible. One thing I have noticed with a lot of the videos that they tended to pop, I don't know if they're still popping up, but they tended to pop up a lot last year, in the last couple of years. You know, the ones that go, I made X amount of money on Etsy in X amount of time. Or how to skyrocket your business, how to skyrocket your sales, or what was another one that I saw? How to 10x, that one. That's another buzzword, how to 10x your sales. And I don't tend to watch those videos. I have done, but then I stopped, because I felt that although a lot of the information in them, or some of the information is not rubbish, some of the information is pretty good, but it's very niche specific, and it doesn't translate to a lot of other niches. And I often found that a lot of the information was good for other people and was just completely pointless for someone like me. And that really annoyed me, because you would look at the thumbnails and the titles, and it was almost sold as if it was for everyone. Now, I understand as a YouTuber, and knowing how YouTube works and how it doesn't, I understand why they have to do this. There is almost a pressure to make thumbnails and titles as close to clickbaity as you possibly can, without it being what's considered bad clickbait. So bad clickbait is obviously when you promise something and you just don't deliver. A good example of this would be, this video will change your life. But you hopefully you get my drift. The thumbnails, they're not just up against people within your niche, though, because when you watch, or when you come, fingers caught, when you came here today to watch YouTube, I'm guessing the first page you saw was your homepage. And before you clicked on this video, if you found it on the homepage, I would have been up against all sorts, depending on what you tend to watch on YouTube. So say, for example, if you were to make a video and it turned up on my homepage, you would be up against Critical Role videos, gardening videos, probably a fair amount of Animal Crossing videos, because my daughter got hold of my phone recently and started watching some, and now YouTube seems to think that's all I want to see. It's not. But yeah, you see what I mean? It's depending on my mood and what I want to be distracted with, your video would be up against all of those. So it's not as simple a case as saying you have to compete with everybody within your niche, because you don't. You have to compete with everyone. I could be up against Mr. Beast, for crying out loud. Exactly. Who's going to win that one? And this is why people have to make these thumbnails, which are, I guess, not necessarily their style. I remember how much I hated it when I realized that people clicked on my videos more when I had my face in them and I was pulling a stupid face. And for a little while I did the whole so I'd make the video, I'd have an idea of the face I wanted to pull, I was going to use, and I would literally do another little video where I was literally just looking at the screen pulling those faces, and I felt like such a muppet. It was just, why am I doing this? And I hated it. It worked though. That's the annoying thing. It worked. Now I have a bit of a compromise, whereas I don't pose for those pictures. I use a still from my video because I feel like that's sort of kind of a compromise. It's trying to get across the emotion that I'm feeling in the video, or that I'm trying to convey in the video, without actually having to do a fake pose. Although no disrespect to anyone who does, because as a YouTuber, I get it. You have to do what you have to do. But yes, if anybody judges any YouTuber harshly for those faces, just know that this is a very, very different platform to anything else out there, and the rules and the way it works and the way people respond to it are very different. And that does change a creator's behavior. That does change what we say, how we say it, what we post, what we don't post. And that is the messy spot that I'm finding myself in at the moment as a YouTube creator, I guess. I think I've already said it's finding that balance between what I want to make and what I know will do well. For example, I did a video last week and it tanked, and I have never been happier to have a video tank so hard, because it was a video that, I'm going to be honest now, I didn't want to make that video. It was boring. And there is the clue, I think. If I'm bored at the thought of making a video, then I think we all know how it's going to be received. But it was a video on Etsy's recent Etsy's purchase payment protection. No, it's PPP. The irony is that they've obviously named this, they've used alliteration to make it nice and easy. Nice and easy for everyone except this doink. Purchase protection program. I'm going to go with that. That sounds right. You should try being in my head. That's fun. The chaos is real, which is why, incidentally, I like this dude. He is so chaotic, and I can relate to it so much. Oh, I need to slow down. My stitches are starting to get messy. This tends to happen right at the end of a project. It's those last few stitches when I can just see the end in sight. I'm like, oh, speed up. And then things go messy and go wrong. So I need to slow down. But yeah, sorry. The video, it tanked, and it was about that Etsy announcement, and I did it because I thought, look, this is relevant. Etsy have brought out this thing. People are probably going to be searching for it. They want to know more about it. I talk about Etsy, so I guess people are going to be expecting me to do this video. So I did the video, and I didn't really want to, but I did it, and it tanked, and I was relieved. I was relieved, and I felt a little bit sad that I hadn't listened to myself, because I knew I didn't want to make that video. But I thought, well, if people didn't want to watch this video, then maybe that's not necessarily what they come to my channel for. Which means maybe I don't have to make videos like this in the future. Which is why I thought, I'll do the stitch video next week. I'll try it. I'll try it. But the thing is, YouTube is, you might think, oh, this is a lot of energy and time and stress that you're giving to this channel. And it's like, well, yes. And there is a reason for that, which I also thought I would mention in this video, because it might be useful to someone, you never know. This channel it's been like a rising tide for everything that I do, which makes it worth the time and the energy and the effort that goes into it. I know a lot of you have Instagram accounts, and if you do, and you've been trying to grow that on the platform, you will know how hard it is to get any kind of traction. And I've found that for years, but now it does seem that unless you're playing the Reels game, it's almost impossible to get any kind of traction on Etsy. And yet I'm growing. Even when I'm not doing anything on Etsy, I'm growing. I'm growing slowly, but I do tend to prefer slow growth to fast growth, because I find it more substantial and more sustainable in the long run. And I just trust it more. I trust slow growth. That's my happy spot. But yes, it's not something I'm actively working at. I rarely use hashtags. I hide my like count because I don't want to sort of stress over how well or how badly something is doing. I don't do reels. I rarely do reels, and when I do, it's usually a reel of my dog. I don't play the game, is my point. And I'm growing. Why am I growing? This channel. I find it's really difficult to grow my Instagram account on Instagram. They are really, really hard. Maybe someone else, I'm sure there's lots of people who find it easy. Good for you. I personally have never had much luck. Oh, and obviously that just has a ripple effect onto everything else as well. Where am I? Etsy, my email list, TikTok. You know, you might be thinking, Kim, I didn't know you had an account on TikTok. I barely do. I'm not active on there at all, because I'm such a nan when it comes to TikTok. I just don't get it. Everybody keeps raving about the editing tools and using it, and I just find it really clunky. Can someone else, if you are watching this and you have tried TikTok and you know you like it, it's all right, but you just find it clunky to use, can you tell me? Because I feel like I'm alone in this one. It doesn't feel as instinctive to me. It doesn't feel as much fun to use. And yet I have a small following on there because of this channel. Trust me, I would not have anyone otherwise. Except maybe a few spam accounts, probably. Otherwise I wouldn't have anyone. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. Last couple of letters. I am going to be filling in parts of his t-shirt, but I am not doing that on camera. This has been going on plenty long enough. We are so nearly there. And this, my loves, is why hand embroidery costs so damn much, because it takes time. But I know I've already asked you this, but if you are still with me, wow, thank you. I hope I haven't bored your bum off. I would love some feedback, constructive, obviously. But yeah, just anything that you think might make these videos better. Definitely something to help me keep the hoop still for a start. Do you prefer having a topic for me to talk about, like I started the video with the fan art? I mean, there is no way that I could have talked about fan art for what, an hour and a half? Is that what we're going on for now? Is it really just taken me an hour and a half just to stitch these letters? Annoyingly, it wouldn't have done if I was stitching this on my own. If I wasn't filming this, I would have stitched this a little bit quicker. Not much, because, you know, it's still hand embroidery at the end of the day. If you could let me know what you liked about this video and what you think I might be able to do to improve on them. And if you'd watch them again in the future, or not, please don't feel scared to offend me with that one. If you think that you possibly wouldn't watch these in the future, let me know too, again, respectfully. But that too would be really useful information. Yeah, it's done. No, it's not. I need a full stop. Hang on. Punctuation, darling. Isn't always important, but I did a comma at the top, so I feel like a full stop is needed here. It's done. It's done. Look. I love that. I love that. Before I go, there's one more part to this. And it's a bit of magic. Bear with. Okay. I'm back. Right, so you can see these pen lines, which I used to draw this onto the fabric. And I used this pen. It's a Frixion pen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And essentially, you can remove it with heat in the form of a hairdryer. I'm going to do some magic. Ta-da! So there you go, it's looking a little cleaner now, and it's ready for filling, which I will do in my own time, because now I need to actually, I'm going to give you a bit of a sneak peek here, crack on with this. The downloadable patterns that will be coming to my shop soon, and I'm doing how-to videos to go along with them, so I need to crack on with that. So believe it or not, I'm going to be doing some more filming and some more stitching today. I was only saying the other week that I wanted to do more stitching. Well, there you go. Now I've got stitches coming out of my bum. And on that note, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.